Welcome to the Introverted Doctor podcast, dedicated to uncovering myths, mistakes, and misconceptions that hold healthcare professionals back from having better interpersonal relationships with their patients and colleagues. In each episode, we focus on different aspects of a doctor's and other allied healthcare professionals' life, such as communication techniques, mindset, routines, habits, and behaviors, with the goal to show how to eliminate anxiety, trip-ups, and unwelcomed results that comes from ineffective communications. I'll reveal research routines and we'll have some amazing guests in future podcasts that will help shine light on a particular topic. At the end of this podcast, I'll summarize the key tips so that you can apply or reapply them right away to start living your best life at work, home, and play. To subscribe to this podcast, please click on the link below or download it on your favorite podcast app, such as Apple Podcast or Spotify. I'm your host, Dr. Lalit Chawla. Take a listen and join me. Hi, I hope you're fantastic. I'm Dr. Lalit Chawla, and today I want to share with you something that changed my life about 4 to 5 years ago. A behavior that I got teased about from my wife and kids, and that was that I wasn't a morning person. And the reality was it was true. I would wake up very tired, not energized, and I really struggled to get through the first couple hours in the morning. And I'm not typically a morning person. I tend to stay up late and tend to work late or read a book or work on some other creative projects. Now, there have been some times I have gotten up early to do some creative work because I do love the stillness of the morning. But if you look at my pattern overall, I really do tend to stay up late in the evenings. Now, the downside of staying up too late is that I would cut myself short of the 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep that I really needed to feel fully rested. So when I would wake up in the morning, I was always feeling tired and slow, and my kids would say, "Gosh, Dad is certainly not a morning person, is he?" And that was a bit embarrassing. I do have to admit that. Now in the morning, I would hit the snooze on my alarm, and then eventually I'd scroll through my emails on my phone, and I used every ounce of energy to go to the washroom and brush my teeth. Then I'd jump into the shower, get ready, and begin the day by eating breakfast. And really slowly over the next hour or so, I would start to feel more alive. But the reality was that I wasn't as energized and as focused as I could be. And subconsciously, I knew that I could be better and more present with the people and sharper for longer times during the day. And I knew that simply living the old way of doing things and using my energy reserves just wasn't going to cut it anymore, especially as I was getting older. I also knew I wasn't getting the greatest joy from the mornings that I could be getting, and I needed to create a better way to start the day. And the one question that several doctors have asked me is, what's the one thing I could recommend to them that could change the quality of their effectiveness in their day-to-day operations as a doctor? Now, I think they were expecting things about patient flow or, staff management or things like that. But my answer to them is to create a customized, empowering morning routine. If you win the first hour or even the first 30 minutes of your day, you win the entire day. But to really understand this, and this is actually a little known fact and often not well understood, that the power of creating a customized morning routine is the key to success in everything a person does. You start right, you move right, you end right. The world's most successful people in all walks of life, from CEOs of Fortune 500 companies to elite athletes to successful academics and best parents, have an empowering morning routine. Starting the day right allows you to handle things better. And there are ways to create a greater and proper routine that fits you. And the reality is you should be customizing it to your morning and your style that fits you best and that is catered to your strengths. What works for one person won't necessarily work for another. But there are certain truths that should be incorporated. But first, I'm going to share with you my morning routine because people have asked me to do so, and how I get charged up for the day. And then I'll discuss some key tips and suggestions for things that you can do to customize it that fits you. And by the way, this is something I encourage with many of my patients to do as well, so that they can leverage their day. And I really believe this. If you win the first 30 minutes of a day, you win the entire day. So this is it. When I first started to create my morning routine, I wanted to make sure I set myself up for success. And simply the thought of doing an hour of meditation or yoga or journaling was just simply too daunting. So I started off small because I wanted to make sure I could at least maintain the habit and start a new pattern. This is really what I tell my patients to do as well. Don't set yourself up for failure. Most people quit because they fail to keep a new routine because it's too much for them. They simply don't establish a new pattern, and establishing that new pattern is the key to success. People also don't celebrate the little wins they get when they're trying to change or implement a habit. They're too long-term focused. I really believe that disappointment happens when you focus on long-term results without celebrating short-term triumphs. So this is what I do. I started with only 1 minute a day in my routine, and gradually over several months I extended it, and now I consistently do 30 minutes every morning. So the first thing I do when I wake up is I take a big drink of water. The night before I put a big glass of water by my bedside, and when I open my eyes I take 10 nice deep breaths in and out, and that really equals about a minute. 10 breaths equals a minute. And as I'm taking those 10 deep breaths, I'm also thanking God and the universe for the day. I'm thankful just to be able to have the opportunities to do the things that I'm going to be doing that day. And when I first started this routine, that's all I did for 3 months, just 1 minute, because that's all I could really muster up. And then the next thing I do after I do that 1 minute, I go brush my teeth, and as I'm brushing, I think about the exciting things I did yesterday that were enjoyable and rewarding, something or someone who made me laugh, or I'll also stretch my hamstrings by putting my one leg up on the bathtub just to get the blood flowing, and then I brush for 1 minute and then I rotate and do the other leg just to get things moving. Then I go to a particular space in our bedroom. Well, actually the first thing I do is I'll make the bed if my wife hasn't already done so, and to get it reasonably tidy. I take a little pride in doing that. It's nothing fancy, and I do it reasonably quickly. I've even accepted the fact that, I'll put on the decorative pillows that my wife likes and are an important part of the look, so I put them on as well because I kind of have to. And but this sets my mind up in motion for creating successful wins by completing that small, useful task. So I make my bed. The next thing I do is I lie down on the carpet and I do some basic stretching. Actually, I do yoga, which I learned from attending some yoga classes. I have a whole routine of stretches from my quads, hamstrings, hip muscles, hip flexors, back. And then I do some deep breathing and meditation by sitting in silence and focusing on my breath. Creating a meditation practice and appreciating the silence is so important. And now there are even great apps that help. I'm told Headspace is useful. I personally have used Calm. It's a great app that helps too. And then after I've done that, I have a gratitude routine that I use. There has been so much research done about the science of gratitude and how that improves a person's health mentally and physically. People who are grateful find solutions to situations, they handle stress better, they have better relationships. When you are in a grateful state, you see the good you have in your life. It doesn't mean you're naive and are ignorant or are in an ignorant state about the world you live in, but you are in a better mindset to be more proactive rather than reactive. So I start first, with myself. I think about all the things I'm grateful for. I think about my health. I think about the breath that I get to take, and I focus on my breathing. I'm thankful for my heart, my lungs, my body, and how that allows me to function in the world. Then I extend my thoughts to my family and friends and how grateful I am for them. I think about them individually and I hold them dear in my mind and in my heart. I also focus on a new person or friend or patient that's struggling, and I think about them and I send them good wishes and thoughts. And note, it's important to vary your gratitude routine because it can get so routine that you're simply saying the words like, I'm so grateful for my wife, I'm so grateful for my kids, that it doesn't have any meaning for you, it doesn't internalize it. So I'll be grateful about old relationships, good and bad, and how they served me, how I learned from good and bad behaviors of people, even people who didn't have my interests at heart, but I still learned valuable lessons from those interactions. I'll thank my parents, my grandmother for their presence in my life when they were alive. And then I extend it out further and I thank God and the universe that I have a home, I live in a great country, and I have the opportunities to contribute to others no matter how big or small they may be. And I'm thankful for all the resources that I have to do those kinds of things. I'm grateful for the fun things that I can do, like coach my son's soccer team, or go for evening walks with my daughter, or talk to my neighbors, and so on. So I think about all those individual tasks. And then I'll focus on something particular that is real and tangible. Particularly, I think of one beautiful tree that we have in our yard, and when I think about that, I visualize that tree, and for me it really connects me to nature, and I feel a sense of joyful peace. And it's useful to think of something tangible, and that's a great way to end your gratitude routine. And it can be anything, the clothes you have, the glass you're drinking from, the shoes you have, because all those items contribute to your life. When people are grateful, they're also more resilient. And the other thing to note, I'll also, when I'm up in the morning, I'll open the windows and I'll look outside and I'll see the sunshine, or even if it's raining, but I let the natural light in. That also triggers a positive response. And then after I've done my gratitude routine, then I'll go jump in the shower. And while I'm showering, I ask myself 2 questions. And the first question is, what can I be excited about today? When I started this initially, it wasn't always easy for me to think about the things that I could be excited about. But I found things that I could be if I let myself. I mean, it didn't have to be big or exciting or amazing, but even the little things, I started thinking about it. And plus, once your brain thinks of a question, it will work on a way to find an answer. So simply putting that question there, you'll start looking for things that you can be excited about. The second question I ask is, who is one person I can exhibit an act of kindness today or try to make them laugh? Research has shown that people who were kinder were happier. Researcher Sonia Lyomobrinsky found that people who commit 5 or more acts of intentional kindness feel happier for many days after they've committed it. So I'll buy a person a coffee when I'm going through the drive-thru, for example, or I'll do some other gestures like send a funny text or send words of appreciation or kindness. And just the simple act of adding kindness as a normal part of your day has tremendous health benefits. After I shower, I'll drink some more water. In fact, in between these transitions between yoga and showering and brushing my teeth, I'll be drinking water consistently, and I'll drink about 1.5 liters, maybe 1 to 1.5 liters before I even hit the breakfast table. So, and that's something that also gradually I became better with. Initially, I was just drinking 500 mils, and over time I increased it. So that's also something that I worked my way up to. Now, after I'm dressed, I will spend 1 to 2 minutes in my journal and write out what I'm grateful for and any opportunities that I can create today. The simple act of journaling or writing things down increases your mood. One study showed that people were much happier if they did this routine of just writing 3 things down. Even if they did it for a week, they were happier 1 month, 3 months, and 6 months after just doing that one act. So there's something magical about writing that down. It just it translates into to something you can really use, and your body remembers that. So, so for example, today, I was grateful that I didn't eat dessert last night and I had fruit instead. So it doesn't have to be a very big thing that you write down, but just those small little things allows you to appreciate the small little wins that you do. And really, that's it. That's my morning routine. I, on occasion, will I won't always get to the journal, but I don't worry about that. I'll try to do it, but I won't be able to do it every time. But the rest of the things I'm fairly consistent about. But there are some additional key points I'd like to share with you. So the first thing, prepare the night before. Life is all about the patterns we set up. So set up empowering ones. If you don't choose your patterns, the world will choose it for you. So you might as well set up patterns that keeps you moving so that you're living your best life at work, home, and play. Sleep 8 hours. If you can't always do this, you should commit to it as much as possible. But if you can't get your 8 hours, don't sweat it. Just make sure you're not becoming sleep deprived. Sleep is important for the body, for its repair, and to help itself recalibrate. And really, the fact is, successful people sleep. There is a culture, especially in the world of medicine, that there's a machoism that, I only did 4 hours of sleep, but studies have shown that people who are not sleeping regularly are not performing better, and they may think they are, but the reality is they're not. So the night before, also avoid looking at screens or tablets or phones. There should be no television an hour before bed. So none of those things before an hour before bed. Read a book for fun or one that is educationally inspiring, and read just a few pages, even if it's for 5 to 10 minutes. It's amazing how quickly you can read a book if you just do that one thing. This method, depending how fast you read, you can read up to 12 books a year, just depending on whether you're doing 5, 10 minutes, that's not a huge time commitment. Now, I'll vary the reading, but generally I like to read a little bit of fiction because it kind of quiets my mind, and I'm thinking about a story that's fun and maybe inspiring. And meditation is also a good thing to do at this time as well. So that's something to think about. The other thing is, the night before, avoid checking emails. Checking emails puts you in a reactive state versus a proactive state. You are buying into other people's agenda. Rather than thinking of something that you're in control of, you'll be paying attention to what they need. So it's better for you to think about things that will inspire you. So end your day with positive thoughts. Think about something that you can look forward to the next day, or something you can create to look forward to the next day. The other important item is, the night before, arrange your clothes for the next day. This way you won't be rushed in the morning. So if you're not a morning person, that's a good practice to do. But most importantly, customize your morning routine to your style and see what works for you. Don't be afraid to experiment. Start slow, but keep on doing it. Plan for your morning routine duration. And you'll initially, if you can only do 1-2 minutes, that's fine. But 5 minutes, you think that'll be something you can establish, that's great too. You'll know when you will need to add more time. It'll just come naturally. And you don't want to make that morning routine something that's a drudgery task. You're priming your brain and your body to win the day. Commit to it the way you commit to brushing your teeth every morning. You wouldn't start your day without brushing your teeth, I certainly hope not. And just think of the morning routine the same way. Once you make that commitment that I have to do a morning routine, you will improve. The other thing I did allude to is meditation is important. Again, start small. It's when you meditate, it instills a calmness and a level of awareness about your body and your breathing, and that's important. And also avoid the snooze button. That just delays the inevitable. Now remember, incorporating exercise, breathing, or stretching to a comfort level that is right for you. And then you need to get your body going. You get to get your lungs moving and the blood flowing. Now you certainly don't have to do all the things, but pick the things that work right for you. Okay. Another tip is that if you're on vacation or you're traveling, modify your routine so it still works. And don't beat yourself up if you don't do it right or you're not doing it consistently when you're traveling. It's good to stay in the routine as much as possible. We as people are creatures of habit, and when you have a place where you do the morning routine, I have a particular place in the bedroom where I do it. It's just then all of a sudden you start finding that your body craves to do it. It just automatically happens. So that really is it, and that's all I really wanted to share with you today. And I'm going to summarize the podcast of some of the key points that I talked about. So, create a morning routine and start small. If you've never done it, commit to at least a minute. It's more important to have a consistency as you develop your new pattern. Incorporate water early in the morning as part of that routine. Make your bed. Start your day with a win. It sets your mind up to create more wins as you know that you've done something well. Start breathing and doing a little bit of stretching. Even if you've never done it before, we can all benefit from stretching and lubricating our body in a better way. Take a couple minutes and think about what you're grateful for. And remember, start with yourself, then your family, your friends, and your opportunities and the country that you're living in. The next thing, think of an empowering question, such as, what can I be excited about today? Who can I be kind to or show some more appreciation? And it doesn't have to be big. Be creative and install something that will charge you up, something that excites you. So whether it's like taking a look at a beautiful picture you have or hugging somebody. I know one family, they actually do a morning huddle and they hug each other before they leave and exit the door together. And the last step is end your day. The last hour of the day should be without technology, and you should really think about the two things that have created a positive impact for you for today. And that is the summary of the podcast. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I hope that it served you in some way. If you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, please share it with a friend or a colleague, and subscribe to us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or your podcast app. And please don't forget to leave a rating. I know it seems like a small thing, but it really makes a difference in terms of helping others find this podcast. I'm Dr. Lalit Chawla, and thank you so much for listening. Let's together make a greater and more effective community and inspire people to live with greater harmony, joy, and magic in their lives. I would love to hear any comments about this podcast and what you'd like to hear in future episodes. Have a fantastic day wherever you are. Thank you.